The knowledge of where sun and shade is going to occur on a site in landscape architecture is one of the most fundamental things you can get a grasp on in your early career and in your early development as a designer. It's going to help you make very informed decisions on your design as you're going along through the design process. It's going to help you know where plants will survive and thrive in certain areas, if they won't survive in certain areas, as well as just general good practical spatial use planning and where people should be spending their time in. For example, I live in Boston and it's very cold, or cold for about 6, 7, maybe 8 months out of the year. So knowing where that sun is as opposed to where the shade is going to help extend the life of those outdoor spaces into the late fall or into the early spring. Whereas on the flip side, you may be in a very hot climate. You're going to want to know exactly where those shade pockets are and how to design within those shade pockets so that during the very heat of the summer, those spaces will still be enjoyable and still be usable during those months. Now, while all of this knowledge is going to be very important for us to learn about as designers, it's also very important that our clients see this type of information as well, and it's made digestible to the client so that they can help understand some of the parameters that you're working with when you're designing. So today, I'm going to be showing you a easily digestible option to use for your sun and shade diagram analysis that your client will be able to understand easily, as well as makes for a really great option for a site analysis graphic that you could use in your portfolio. So without further ado, let's get started. Now for this diagram, we're going to be using a combination of different programs. We're going to be using SketchUp for the modeling. We're going to be using Photoshop to clean up and put the drawing together. We'll be using Illustrator to create the diagram aspect of our site analysis graphic, and then we're going to be using InDesign to tie it all together and create the finished product. So let's start by opening up SketchUp and getting our model imported into the drawing. Now, if you don't have a model and you're working in an urban area, like let's say Boston, you can use this website called CAD Mapper, and it's going to give you a bunch of realistic data where you can download and import a model from. This is a really awesome site to use, and it's saved me a bunch of time in trying to create a model from scratch or come up with the heights of the buildings based on Google Earth or something like that. It's a really great time saver. So since we're going to be using Boston as an example, let's go ahead and use this from CAD Mapper and import it into our drawing. Now to get this into our drawing, make sure it's saved, unzipped from the file, and then head on over to SketchUp and then go File, Import, and then import the DWG into the file. And as you can see, the model will be in there. It's all correct dimensions. It's laid out in the correct orientation. So now we can go ahead on to the next step, which will be adding the geolocation for our site. So for this, we're going to want to go to File, Geolocation, and then add a location. Then let's type in our rough extents of our location, zoom in and out till we have the extents we like, and then import it. Then once that is in there, let's just double check and make sure everything is aligned on top of each other. It's a little difficult as it comes in with the shadows, so it makes the buildings a little bit off, but do your best guess to line these up correctly. But now that this is all set, let's go ahead and turn off that location within the tags, so then we can set up our view that we're going to pull all of our exports from. So then we're going to set our orientation view to top, and then we're going to start to tweak some of the style settings so that it's ready to go and be exported. It's pretty simple. All I'm going to do here is uncheck everything besides the edges and then change that edge color to something a little bit less dark black to maybe some sort of a lighter gray, so it's less aggressive on the page. From here, we're all set, and we can go ahead and create a new scene as we're going to be pulling from this every single time going forward. So now we're going to want to capture a range of different times throughout the year and throughout the day to get a good idea of where the sun's going to be and where our shade will occur in our site. So ideally, we're going to want to start with identifying the winter, summer solstices, and the equinoxes, which will be September and in March. And for the times, we're going to want to do 9 a.m., 12 p.m., and 3 p.m. 9 a.m.'s good morning time, midday, and 3 p.m. is a good afternoon time. People are getting out of work, experiencing different sites. So make sure those dates are plugged in. Let's start with winter and export our different times for 9 a.m., 12, and 3. Make sure your files are organized here, as we're going to want to make sure that we're not misplacing things and that we're bringing things in the right order, in the right time, and for the right time of year. Now make sure you don't change your orientation at any time during all of this, and just repeat the process over and over again for the summer, the fall, and the winter time slots. Lastly, before we're all set with SketchUp, we're gonna wanna turn that location back on and turn the buildings off, as we're gonna use that for a backdrop in our analysis graphic. And then lastly, turn the shadows off and take an export of just the building without the sun on, so that it's a good overlay over our buildings and a good base to start from. Then let's head on over to Illustrator so we can start to create the diagram that this will all come together within. What we're essentially going to be doing here is we're going to be creating almost like a compass with north, south, east, and west orientations, as well as different degreed angles to show where the sun is going to be going throughout the different times of year. And then on the side, there's gonna be some smaller circles to signify where each time of day, where the sun and where the shade is at that specific moment. So let's start by having a large circle over on the right side, which will have two smaller circles within it. You can use the offset tool to make these smaller increments. Let's make the outermost circle a little bit heavier than the inner two circles and make sure that those inner two circles are much closer together than the outermost. Then we're gonna go ahead and add our tick marks. We're gonna start with north, south, east, and west. And then we'll do the other angles. We'll do 30, 60, 120, 150, 210, 240, 300, and then 330. Then we're gonna add in some text, as well as put those three smaller circles to the left side to signify the 9 a.m. slot, the 12 p.m. slot, and the 3 p.m. slot for each time throughout that year. So your drawing should look something like this when it's all set. And then we're gonna add in the sun paths for each time of the year. So let's start with the summer. First, we're gonna have two circles that are gonna sit around the 360-degree angle, as that's gonna be the rough height and path the sun takes throughout the year in the summer. Then we're gonna use the curvature tool to make an arc towards the south to simulate where that path is gonna go throughout the year and show what will be sunny during that time. Then with the shape builder tool, we're gonna fill in the southern part of the arc to showcase that path even more and add some color to the drawing. Then let's copy that inner circle back into our drawing, and we have the summer solstice part done. Next, let's go ahead and do the equinox. This is gonna be the exact same process as we did, except the circle is gonna be just starting just north of the east and west portions, as the equinox is gonna be just about at the midpoint at this time of the year. So again, we're gonna repeat that process of creating an arc and then using the shape builder tool to fill in that area. Again, copy that inner circle back in and the equinox will be done. Lastly, let's do the winter solstice. Again, same exact process, except we're gonna be starting at the 240 and the 150 mark, and that arc is gonna be just above the bottom of that circle. So now we're gonna have three different diagrams all ready to go. And as you can see, if you flip through them, you'll notice that that sun path is gonna change throughout the year, signifying the points and the heights that sun is along during that time of year. So let's export these drawings and get them on into Photoshop so that we can bring our model views back in and start to get this thing all pieced together. You're gonna wanna take a minute and set up some basic organization. I like to set up folders for each time. I'm gonna do fall, spring, and then summer and winter. So we're first gonna wanna bring that location we exported from SketchUp into the drawing so that we can use it in our backdrop and set the extents of that circle. So once you have an area that you like, go ahead and use the magic selection tool and erase the outer extents from that circle so you have something like this. Then we're gonna wanna bring in the building base so that we have a nice clean building to choose from and overlay with. Again, we're gonna be repeating that same process of selecting with the magic selection tool and then erasing the outer edge so that we have a nice clean diagram. Now from here, all we have to do is bring in all of those other exports, line them up, make sure they're in the correct spot in our files, and start to erase and manipulate some of the drawings to get it looking a little bit cleaner. So remember to take your time and keep track of where things are going and put them in the correct places, as you really don't want to get these mixed up, as they could be a huge difference in the end result. But after all that's done, you've erased all the edges, you've lined everything up correctly. Let's go ahead and manipulate with some of the settings to finish this up. So we're gonna wanna select each layer and then change it from normal to multiply and lower the opacity down to about 50% or so. What this is gonna do is it's gonna overlay your drawings a bit better, and it's gonna show in varying depths of darkness of where things are gonna be more predominantly shady or sunny throughout your day. So you can see how in this drawing that there's certain areas that will get overlaid multiple times and appear darker than places right next to it or across the way. And you'll be able to talk and see that throughout your diagram. Now you could take this a step further and start to color code it or give some sort of theme or graphic ability to each portion, but I'm gonna keep it very simple as it shows the varying depths of darkness very easily, and it's very easily digestible for a client. So just repeat this for the other 2 time periods, and then we'll be ready to export it. Now when we export it, we're gonna wanna do this in a couple ways. We're gonna wanna export the combined overlay, and then we're gonna wanna export each individual time period, 9, 12, and 3. As when we put this into InDesign, we're gonna combine some of these aspects and do the smaller circles for the diagram. So go ahead and export all of those files. I know it's a ton of files, ton of things to keep track of, but it's honestly good practice to be naming things and learning how to have some good file organization through this. But with InDesign open, let's create a new file in the same dimensions as you've been using this whole time, and then drop in your combined overlay first into that new page. Then with your rectangle frame tool, draw in a circle that is roughly the extent of those 3 smaller circles on the side, and then import one of your time slots, preferably 9 a.m. because that will be the first one, and line it up and change and shrink the sizes so that it fits within that window. Then copy and paste this 2 more times down and insert the 12 and the 3 p.m. slot, and you'll have your first page essentially done. Then just take a copy of that entire page and paste it in place 2 more times, and then replace the information for your winter and your summer solstice. Now from here, all that's left is to add whatever relevant information or graphic that you would like. For me, I'm just gonna be putting a simple title that explains which solstice it is, what time of year it is, and then what time of day each breakdown is, as well as a little bit of detailed information on what's going on in each time zone. But essentially, this is one of the options that your end result could look like. Like I said before, you could go with different color options, different color schemes to represent different times of day. You could play with a lot of different things. You can add different titles, descriptions, anything you want to go with from here, you could do. So it's a really easy drawing. This probably took me in total about an hour to do, and it's really well worth your time because you're gonna get a really fantastic idea of each space and how to design properly for your area. So let me know in the comments below if you thought this was a useful site analysis graphic to use for your clients, presentations, portfolios, as well as let me know if there's some other graphics that you would like to see me cover in the future. And as always, be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you found this information useful, and share it with a friend, as it will help push this content out to others who are interested in learning more about landscape architecture, and also helps me just know if these videos are helpful to you guys and are worth the time to make these. But that's gonna be all from me today, so thank you all for watching. Be sure to check out my channel for more architectural content, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.